Hi, welcome and good morning to everyone. Very excited to kick off this webinar. Just a quick housekeeping points for today. Access to your microphone and camera is off, and we will have a Q&A. We have a Q&A function available for your questions. The webinar will be recorded and will be shared at the end of the session, and we would welcome you and invite you for a one-to-one session at the end of the webinar. We will soon share the links with you. So moving ahead. Topic for today's webinar is Reimagine your business with hybrid analytics. I am excited to kick off this webinar with you. I will first quickly introduce you to the team on the webinar today from our side. Myself, Mohammad Riaz, a Regional Sales Director at Clariba. Joining with me is Geo Diblasi, Director COE of Analytics at SAP. Gayat Sheikh Amin, Senior Consultant from Clariba, and Mark Habelan, our Founder and CEO at Clariba. So thank you all for joining, and I hand over to Mark for the further session. Thank you.
Thank you, Riaz, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you. What we want to really cover today is a couple things. I mean, ultimately, it's about the journey to the cloud for your analytics. But some of us and some of you might still have an outdated business objects environment, and that you're using for your enterprise analytics. And there might be some key questions that we want to make sure that you walk away with today. And one of them is really what's the difference between the current business objects that you have and business objects 4.3. You know, why should you upgrade? What are some of the benefits to make this journey that will help you actually ultimately get to the cloud? Another one is, you know, what is the reason for you to potentially take into consideration moving or into implementing SAP Analytics Cloud if you already have an analytics environment with business objects? Why would you move to the cloud? Why is that so important? And what capabilities will that provide to you? And again, why and how do I best move to SAP Analytics Cloud? Those are some of the questions that we want you to walk away from. And ultimately, we're going to be showing you quite a bit of SAP Analytics Cloud so that you have an understanding of some of the features and capabilities and the ease of use, most importantly, of the solution to provide all your analytics capabilities that you will require for your enterprise. So before we get started, I just want to give you a quick introduction today of Clariba. We'll have Geo from SAP explain a bit around the importance of data, and then we'll get into best-in-class analytics with a mix of conversation around business objects and SAP Analytics Cloud, along with a demo, and we'll talk about the hybrid scenarios that you could take. And don't forget, at the end, we'll be answering any questions that you might have. You have the chat functionality available in which you can at any point put in your questions, and we'll try and answer those. Plus, don't forget also for those of you that want to stick around for a quick one-to-one conversation, we'll be sharing a link at the end of the session where you can join us in a separate Zoom room for some conversation around maybe your specific challenges or the questions that you might have according to your environment. But let's jump in and let me just give you a quick introduction about Clariba. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but for those of you that don't know us, we've been in the analytics space for many years, for the last 20 plus or 22 years now almost. It's always been around data for us, and we started as a business objects partner, business objects company, and of course over the many years have moved into the SAP ecosystem, and now are SAP's number one analytics partner in both Europe, in Spain, and in the Middle East. A big focus for us has always been making sure that we provide success to our customers. It's about helping you understand what is the roadmap that you should be taking as an organization, which means that we have to adopt the latest technologies as early as possible so that we can then help you decide when is the right time to make the transition in your organization, and what is the roadmap that you should be implementing so that you can provide your business with the right capabilities for your analytics environment, and to be able to provide the right insights to your business to allow you to take the right decisions. Big focus for us is making sure that we follow best practices, that we are recognized by SAP as the top partner, and so a big focus has been for us to ensure that we also participate in the quality awards. We have 1 or 2 going on right now, and hope to win one in Spain coming up, I think this week, in fact. And lastly, I think another important point for us is, analytics is all about adoption. So we try and really help you as an organization also make sure that you adopt the solution, and we put in place the right change management for you to get outcomes from the investments that you've made. What is it that we do as an organization? So we distinguish here between 3 pillars. One of them is analytics. So big focus on the analytics piece, as you know, all the way from data management to analytics, machine learning, advanced analytics, some of those things that you'll see as well today. The second one is enterprise performance management. We work a lot in the strategy and enterprise risk space. And lastly, on SAP BTP, we build custom enterprise solutions, bringing together processes and data into potentially mobile applications or desktop applications that provide a specific use case for customers. This is one of the things that we've been focusing on over the last couple of years as Clariba. Naturally, we provide managed services, training, migrations, which we'll talk about today, hosting partially as well, and of course, providing you with the roadmaps that will allow you to take the right decisions for your organization. In terms of technologies, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail here, but you basically see the business analytics stream, the enterprise performance stream, and the digital solutions stream. You'll see that big focus on the SAP technology, from data warehouse cloud to business objects, of course, to SAP Analytics Cloud, to digital boardroom. Some of those topics we'll be discussing today. As SAC planning, of course, we'll also touch on, and then HANA Cloud or HANA capabilities for some of the digital solutions, and of course data warehousing and beyond. Okay, that's a bit about us at Clariba, and what I'd like to do now is hand over control, and I'll try and see if I can do that here. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to hand over to Giorgio Di Blasi. Giorgio heads the Center of Excellence for Analytics at SAP. So Giorgio, over to you.
Thank you, Mark. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, so what I would like to do, first of all, thank you for the invitation, Mark, Clariba. It's a big pleasure as usual. And the first thing I would like to do is straightforward to ask the audience, is your organization able to keep up with the information demand? Or to put it in a different way, are your business users in the different line of business able to run decisions based on data? I mean, I'm giving you a couple of seconds to think about it. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes, you're back. You're back.
Okay. I don't know. Did you miss the first part? Did you miss my?
We are fine. We're fine. We're fine. We heard everything except for one short second.
Okay. So giving you a couple of seconds, as I said, to think about this question.
Giorgio, we lost.
Why? Every time I.
Don't hit the space bar.
I am not able to.
Giorgio, we hear you now. We hear you now.
But
you want me to move the screen?
I'm not able to move the slides. Now. Sorry, guys. That's always the same, at the beginning. Sorry for that, ladies and gentlemen. And now moving a little bit too fast. Well, back to the point, back to the question. according Forrester, and you can find the link in the bottom of the slides, and you will get, of course, the handout from Mark and the Clariba team. Only 8% of organizations are really running. Someone is moving my slides. It's running decisions based on data. And now let me tell you that it's a pity, because I know after now almost 13 years, in the analytics space and 25 years in the software area, I know that every organization like yours, is spending a lot of money for analytics. And this is exactly the point here. It's not just about analytics, but it's really about a combination of analytics platform and adoption, as Mark said at the beginning. Well, having said that, now let me introduce myself. My name is Giorgio Di Blasi. As I said, I'm very happy to be here today to spend the next 10 minutes together with you. And I hope that you like stories, because 8 out of the 10 minutes will be about a story. And the story is about, is data the new blood of any organization? And I mean, it's a very simple question, right? The point is that I heard during a convention, as you can see here on this slide, Mr. Wolfgang speaking about the data as the new blood. Why? Because based on his understanding, and by the way, this is not a session about healthcare, based on his understanding, with data you can really drive innovation in every area, including in the healthcare, in order to personalize as much as possible, any kind of activity for your patients, so to have a better outcome at the end. And now, having said that, I mean, the question is really, is the data the new blood? And I will say, and here, of course, I'm using a kind of analogy, meaning that, yes, like healthy blood, also data are very important, because if your data are good, also your organization will be good. And I will go even beyond, and say that data is really the blood of any organization. That means that you need, like in your body, you need to provide your body with healthy blood in every part. Also with the data, you need to provide every kind of line of business of department with the right data in order that they can take the right decisions in the right moment. And just a second. Now, here we go. And going further, in our analogy, analytics is in this context like a human brain. I would say a kind of intelligent layer on top of all the data, providing you with that what you really need. And by the way, what you really need is not just information, it's much more. I'm talking here, about artificial intelligence. I'm talking here about machine learning. And coming, for instance, to our SAP Analytics Cloud, closing the loop of all that, so the information, the predictive capabilities, also with a very, very strong collaborative planning solution. And I mean, okay, it's not moving now. And able, of course, to connect all this information, with the concrete, relevant business content, So able to unlock every kind of insight in your organization. This is the reason why we would like to introduce our hybrid analytics strategy, mentioned also from Mark, which is nothing else than a combination of on-prem analytics and cloud analytics, providing you at the end of the day, based on your personal specific needs, with that what you need. in a seamless way. And I will come back to that in a second, because with hybrid analytics, we are putting on the table a kind of magic layer. I'm clicking more than one time, but not moving. Just a second. Sorry for that. It's the slides are not moving.
The cloud is a bit slow. Here we go.
Here we go. And exactly, hybrid analytics is nothing else than a combination of on-prem and okay, now it's moving. Sorry for that. Well, now waiting that the slide is moving back. So it's nothing else than a combination of on-prem solutions and cloud solutions. With the on-prem solutions, of course, we are talking about business objects, based on the release UR, for instance, for the tree. And with cloud, we are here talking about SAP Analytics Cloud, in the best case on top of our SAP data warehouse cloud solution. And as I said, with SAP Analytics Cloud, we are providing you really with everything you need. Not just information, because you need much more than information. You need also the embedded analytics, and machine learning. You need business content, based on the different line of business. So for marketing, for sales, for finance, you name it. And finally, all that embedded and integrated in one platform, having at the end of this platform also all the collaborative planning capabilities. In an easy way, that means that every business user can use finance solutions, in that case, collaborative planning, during his daily business to take his decisions. And well, now let me see if we are able to move to the next slide. And by the way, what we are doing here is, as I said, a kind of strategy journey, And very often in that case, I get the question from our customers, Joe, but how to start, where to start this journey, from on-prem to the cloud, taking into account that every customer is different, like a fingerprint, as I used to say. And every customer wants to move with his own pace, And so the first point I use to say is that they first of all need to understand the objectives, and the main KPIs they want to track. Secondly, they need to quantify the value of analytics, having the right prioritization. Now it's moving by herself, having the right prioritization. And of course, you need to show a return of investment, to your CFO, so to the lady or to the gentleman running the finance department in your organization. That means you need, of course, to have a business case, showing the impact of analytics, showing the investments, you are doing with SAP or with Clariba in a clear and compelling way. And only then, as soon as you have this kind of setup, so understanding the KPIs you want to track, having a business case, having an integration plan, and understanding where to start and how to start, you can really start your journey, and provide all the business users with the right analytics, as you can see on the bottom, which is nothing else than our digital boardroom, for instance, out of our SAP Analytics Cloud. And well, of course, as I said, you will get a lot of interoperability between your on-prem stack and the cloud. And for a reason, because as I said, we really want that our customers can leverage all the investments, without, how to say, losing even 1 cent of what they did in terms of money and in terms of implementation. And finally, and this is really the plan we have here, is to have, how to say, in the middle, of course, in the middle. And by the way, this slide could be, how to say, the center slide of my entire speech. So having really in the middle the aim we all have, and the aim is our SAP Analytics Cloud. But on the other hand, as I said, providing you with all the tools you need to start this journey, so that you can decide if you want to move within 6 months, within 1 year, or maybe midterm within the next 2 years. And finally, now waiting that the slides are moving. And finally, our aim is really to, how to say, to be partner in crime together with Clariba, to bring you from the very first step to the last step. That means starting this discussion about the strategy, understanding what kind of needs you have, and then building a plan together with you. And this is exactly the first step. So having an end-to-end strategy, and providing you with that what you need, including, by the way, also the business case discussion, so that you can show the value of that what you are doing together with us to your different stakeholders in the organization. Okay, the second step is how to say it, or to repeat myself again, to drive this together as a partner in crime, and to close the loop, as I said, providing you exactly with that what you need based on where you are starting. If you have a strong deployment of business objects, supporting you to move maybe not everything, but in the first step, less sensitive data to the cloud. That could be, for instance, marketing, and closing finally the loop in the last step with the finance data. Now, having said that, and apologize for the problem with the slide move, I'm more than happy to take any kind of questions. If you have questions, also offline. I'm on a daily basis in contact with our partner Clariba and with Mark. So that means that if you have questions, feel free to reach out to Mark or to Mohammed, your point of contact. And I'm happy to set up an offline call with you to discuss your specific case and to understand how we can provide also you with added value. So having said that, Mark, back to you.
Thank you so much, Geo, and apologies that you had some challenges here. I think I do need a faster laptop. Good thing I ordered my new MacBook Pro last week. So apologies for that and for the slides moving too fast for some of you guys.
Keeping awake our dear customers. So I need to jump to another meeting. Take care, stay safe, and thanks again for.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geo, and welcome back, everyone. So, as Geo said, the message really is how do we move to the cloud, and what benefits does that bring to us? And the next section is really about a couple of things where we'll outline to you what SAP has done to improve, let's say, the business objects version for those of you that might still have business objects in-house. We'll spend just a couple of minutes on that. But then more importantly, we're going to move into the SAP Analytics Cloud environment and show you a bit on how SAP Analytics Cloud can provide value to your organization. But before we do, let me just have a quick introduction to the Business Objects 4.3. It's been on the market for quite some time. We have quite a few customers that we are currently actually migrating over. So I don't see the participants, but if you're here today, it's lovely to have you. The key focus that SAP has made in terms of migrating or bringing out 4.3 was to help customers make this transition to the cloud. Okay, it's really trying to help you to create an interoperability between what you have in-house today, to bring that over into SAC. In other words, to try and find a way to integrate the two solutions so that you as an organization can move more effectively and move some of your workloads initially from one to the other. In addition to that, what you'll see is that it's much more Fiorified. It looks it looks very nice. It has like these Fiori tiles where you can take some metrics and you can visualize those alongside of your reports, and overall to provide you with a better user experience. Okay. Ultimately, again, the focus is, and I think the message from SAP has been that, look, we are continuing to invest in making sure that we maintain the business objects technology to provide you with something that is stable, that continues to allow you to run potentially your reporting in business objects, but at the same time allows you to migrate over to SAP Analytics Cloud, and to allow you to make that journey in a potentially in multiple steps, so that this is something that you can plan ahead for, potentially move some of the workloads that are less sensitive initially, get a good feeling for that, and then move over to SAP Analytics Cloud as you go. Okay. My computer is indeed super slow today, so apologies, but I think it's time now to move to SAP Analytics Cloud, and I'll give you a quick introduction to the solution, and then we're going to jump straight into a demo with Gate, who's going to show you what is the key on SAC, and how does that bring together some of those capabilities we'll be talking about. So I think first off, what is SAC? SAC is a software as a service, so it's a cloud-based solution that really brings together three main capabilities. One is analytics, next one is predictive and augmented analytics, and the third is SAC planning, and all of that in one user interface. So the key thing is here that you can bring together the workloads that typically are separate, but they cross over into one user interface. So on the right-hand side, you'll see a value driver tree that Gate will show you. You see business intelligence, and you see predictive all in one single user interface. And that makes it a lot easier in terms of the adoption within the organization, which still remains a bit of a challenge. Okay, and the fact that the user interface is also very comfortable. It's much simpler to use than maybe traditional tools, and that allows you to drive adoption within the organization. And of course, it allows you. This is a cloud-based solution, but at the same time, it allows you to connect, of course, to your on-premise data sources, to cloud data sources, and of course, as we said, to integrate with Business Objects 4.3 if you still have that in-house in your organization. All right, so here in summary, one more time, you have the business intelligence, the augmented analytics, and the enterprise planning, right, which is a lot going to be. That's where a lot of the workflows will happen, and of course all the financial planning, potentially headcount planning, and other things, as you'll see in the next couple of slides. The front end and the visualization of what you're able to do with SAC will either be on a digital boardroom, which is a multi-screen setup. It can be via stories, it can be via analytical applications, which we'll look at, and it can also be via Microsoft integration, and all of that can be either on your desktop or on a mobile application, which allows you to have your analytics then basically in your pocket and with you at any time. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to hand over to Gates so that we can have a demonstration of the solution, and you have a better understanding of some of the capabilities that SAP Analytics Cloud provides to you. So, Gates, would you be okay to share your desktop and take it from there?
Thanks a lot, Mark. Just give me a shout when you can see my screen, please.
Yes, we can.
Yep. Does it look good? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mark. Just to give you a brief introduction about myself, my name is Ghais Sheikh Amin. I'm a senior consultant at Clariba, and I'm going to give you a quick demo on some of the SAP capabilities that we've discussed. So we talked a lot about BI, about planning, about augmented analytics. It all sounds good in theory, but as we always say, seeing is believing. So we've prepared some examples that we can look at, some simple examples with some demo data. The first thing I'd like to show you is some of the planning capabilities within SAP Analytics Cloud. So what we're looking at now is a sample planning report. This is what we're looking at right now is a cost planning report. So you can see my year, I can see my quarters. The quarters are expandable to show me my months within the quarters, and I can plan my budgets for either my headquarters or my entities under the headquarters. So these could be different office locations, they could be different branches, different stores, whatever makes more sense for your business. I can change my budget either on an entity level, or I can change it on my headquarters level. This is done using weightage. So if I change the value here, let's change this to, for example, 600,000. All right, you can see that my cost distributes as per the weightage that I've assigned to these two entities. You can also see that the charts at the bottom are refreshing. So this is more of a typical kind of BI element coupled with a planning element. So we can actually see different what if scenarios. What if my costs increase during this quarter? What if I allocate more budget to entity B? What if I allocate more budget overall for my headquarters? What I can see here is a forecast. This is actually an out-of-the-box default predictive feature within SAP Analytics Cloud. So you can see my green here are my actuals, and my black is my budgets, which I've set in my table above. And the dotted line is going to be my prediction. Now, because we're using demo data, the prediction is more shallow. Of course, the more complex your data, the more complete your data, the more clean your data, the better your forecast will be. As we always say, clean input equals a clean output. So, but this is something that's completely out of the box in SAP Analytics Cloud. We didn't have to write any Python. We didn't have to write any machine learning software or anything like that. This is a standard default out of the box, and we can train someone to output a time series chart like this in a matter of minutes, and it gives me my prediction for January 2021. You can see above we do not have any data for January 21. This is a prediction, and it's a forecast rather. And the forecast gives me my upper bound of confidence, my lower bound of confidence. So this is one of the things we talked about when we say augmented analytics. These out-of-the-box capabilities, such as, for example, forecasting and predictive analytics, as well as others that we will look at in a second. Other things that we can have are just your standard BI charts reporting on the data that's included in your planning model. So here, when I edit my costs, it will reflect in my charts below. You have the standard features like clicking on a chart and being able to drill down to see the entities below. Yep, so you can see I can drill down to my entity level. I can drill back up to my headquarters level. And of course, in your organization, you'll have even more layers. You might have sectors and divisions underneath and departments underneath that. There's no limit really to how detailed you can go with your planning. If we look at the next page within this report, we can also see a value driver tree. So this is a value driver tree for what you would expect from a retail company, just as an example. You can see that my costs are marked in red, and my income is marked in green. And I can edit any of these values to see a what if scenario. So let's show a little example here. So what if I increase my discounts, or sorry, if I increase my sales markdowns by 5%. So all I do is I click on it, I say plus 5%, I say okay, and the rest of my table, you can see the values become yellow, will adjust accordingly. So I can see what happens to my total discounts, what happens to my net revenue, what happens to my gross profit overall. So it's a very quick way for me to plug in different what if scenarios and plan for that situation happening. I can see immediately what happens to my bottom line when I change these things. So let's say I want to increase my advertising budget by 10%. So let's do that. I increase my advertising budget by 10%. Now I can see what happens to my my advertising and market budget, what happens to my gross profit, what happens to my my bottom line and so on. What happens to my margins? Even on the left, you can see all of these things are affected. What happens to my operating expense percentage, and so on. So these are some example. This is an example of what Mark referred to earlier as a value driver tree, where we can create relationships between all these measures and plug in what if scenarios. What if this happens? What if that happens? And we can see the outcome. Okay, so these are fully customizable based on the calculations that your finance team uses. We can also see another example here of a value driver tree. This would be something for a company like ours. For a consultancy, you might have different things that you want to measure when it comes to your bottom line, like our billing rate, our number of employees, billable hours, and so on. Of course, this is not real data. This is just for the sake of demoing. And again, we can do the same thing. So I can see what happens if I increase my transport budget or decrease it by 10%. How is that going to affect my profit? How is it going to affect my total costs? And of course, like I said before, there's no real limit to how deep you can go with this information. Okay, you can even go on an individual employee level if you really want to. Okay, so this is this is the demo for the planning section. I'll also show you a more traditional BI dashboard, which you might be more used to, just to show you those capabilities as well. So right now we're getting into a more traditional dashboard that you might expect. Okay, this is our traditional kind of high-level reporting and our high-level analytics. We can see there's really interesting features and chart types. There's really interesting widgets that we're able to use. We can color code things from green to red or from any color. We can have things like hotspots and heat maps. These are really cool as well. And we can even have like reference lines. So this is an example of a COVID-related retail kind of analysis. So we can have a look at our congestion, our peak of max capacity reached, and so on. Of course, it will be different for each business case. I just want to show you what we're able to do with this tool. Okay, if I go to the next page, I can even see a geo analysis. So that's something that's also very easy to do in SAP Analytics Cloud, which is sometimes much harder in some other tools. Okay, so what I can actually do here is I can have a look at my locations in a heat map, and I can see my overall KPIs at the right-hand side. I can even select one specific store like this, and I can filter it, and I can see the values for that specific store. So these are things that they look quite nice, they look quite complicated, but in reality, you can probably train someone to do something like this in less than a day. So it's a very simple drag and drop kind of technology, and we're not really limited. So we can do whatever we want and present whatever information we want. However, there are some cases where you might want something a little bit more complex than what the drag and drop feature allows. If we want different interactivity that's not there by default, in which case we also have something called the Analytic Application, which is akin to what you would see in business objects with Lumira Designer, where you'd have a professional who can code different interactions and actually write scripts. And that's also available on SAP Analytics Cloud. So it's not only drag and drop. If you'd like to go beyond that, that's also possible. So this is an example of a custom-made, fully customized, fully scripted HR dashboard that we can show you. So for example, I can click on this panel here and go to my employees page. So you can see here we have certain interactions that you might not be able to, well, you won't be able to do them with simple drag and drop features, such as sliding menus, navigation menus like this. Again, this is something, if you're familiar with Lumira Designer from the business object side, you'll see something, you'll see the similarity in the capabilities. We can have things like filters that drop down when you click them. I can select, for example, the gender. I can choose male or female, and it will reflect that information in the dashboard. Of course, we can have a lot more complex functionality when we have scripting involved and when we have the capability to kind of write and script different events. So you can see that the drag and drop feature alone can produce a really great and complete dashboard. This is just kind of a fail-safe. If you want to produce something even more customized, you are able to do that. So really the sky is the limit when it comes to SAP Analytics Cloud. There's one more thing that I'd like to show you, which is another feature in the Augmented Analytics. I already showed you the forecast, how that works, but I'd like to show you another feature called Smart Discovery. Okay, so I have my my dashboard here, and I would like to ask the system to generate some insights on my behalf. So there are some great features here. If I click on this light bulb, the Run Smart Discovery light bulb, the system will ask me, which data are you interested in finding out more about? Which measures are you interested in finding out more about? So in this case, I'll select the model that I'm using. And of course, we talked about the hybrids and being able to use models from different places. Okay. So for example, I want to find out more about my retail. I can click on target. I choose which measure am I trying to find out more about. So in this case, I want to find out more about my average time in location per customer. So I click on that, and I can choose to split it by location. So different store locations. Again, like I said, the business needs will be different for each company. However, this is just to show you an example of how the information is generated. So all I did is I clicked run, and I let it run for just a quick second here. And it's going to generate a full dashboard page for me, giving me information about this specific measure. So it'll find correlations that perhaps I wasn't expecting. It will show visualizations that maybe I hadn't thought of. Somehow machines are better at detecting correlation than people in many cases. So this functionality exists. Again, you don't have to know any machine learning or any Python or anything like that. This is all generated out of the box with SAP Analytics Cloud. So here I can see my minimum value. I can see my maximum value. So minimum is 4 minutes in the shop. Maximum is about 20 minutes in the shop. I can see the different buckets on how my customers spend their time in the shop. And this chart the dots on this chart might be a little too light for you to see on the screen, but this shows me my average daily number of customers in the store and my average time in the location for the store. So if I mouse over these, you can see that the system has actually found a correlation on my behalf. This is something that I did not have in the original dashboard, but it's showing me that there's quite a clear correlation. I hope you can see because it's quite light on the screen, but there's quite a clear correlation where the more customers I have, the less time people spend in the store. So the more congested the store is, the less time people spend in it. This is a chart that the system has generated for me. I may have never noticed that. Of course, this is a very simple example with some demo data. You can imagine with your enterprise's information, you can find even much deeper things than this, and you can discover new patterns and correlations that you hadn't thought of. So I just wanted to show you this as a quick demo. I hope it gave you some insight on what the tool actually looks like and what it can do. And with that being said, thank you very much for your time. I'll pass it back to Mark to continue with the rest of the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gates. And I hope this was useful for everyone. I'm just going to go back here. You should be starting to see my screen again. So thanks, Kate. I think the power of the solution is quite wide. And again, you saw, I think, the analytics piece. You saw the predictive and the planning capabilities all in one user interface. And really, from an adoption perspective, that is critical because a lot of times in organizations, these workloads have converged and they are continuing to converge. We're seeing more and more customers coming to us with planning requirements, for example, headcount planning, salary planning, workforce planning. They're all going in that direction. In addition to, of course, the standard budgeting requirements for the annual budgets and forecasting. And a lot of times that requires a mix of analytics on one hand and the planning capabilities on the other, with the simulation of the value driver tree, and also the ability to create reports and more complex analytics, and of course the workflow that you require when you want to go down the planning route. And all of that in the same interface is where I think is a huge differentiator to some of the solutions that are out there that are good in their own sense, but this SAP Analytics Cloud covers a wider range of capabilities. So I'm not going to walk you through these slides. We'll be sharing those with you. So I'll just pick out a couple of key things. I think you've seen the visualization. I think one of the important things here is, unlike maybe in the business objects world, where building dashboards in the last couple of years was a lot more complicated. It was a lot more challenging. With SAP Analytics Cloud, Business users are able to create their own analytics, as you just saw in the example also that Gate showed. The solution that the tool can actually give you a capability to out of the box look at your data and come back with initial insights that you can then use to create your dashboards. We talked about the planning piece, which is really bringing together all those capabilities from pulling the data from your source system, creating your model, interacting with that model, and then creating forecasts, and all of that supported by all the different interaction that you require in terms of the workflows that are required in a planning scenario. So no more sending Excel sheets and different versions of Excel sheets from one colleague to another, or from one department to another, and then ending up with finance for the final budget cuts. All of this is now integrated directly into SAP Analytics Cloud, which makes it very powerful to use. And then lastly, we looked at the augmented analytics, the ability to have predictions, to identify patterns, and to automatically review the data and see if there's any kind of correlation between the different data points that we have in our data models. Plus, you have the ability to actually integrate your own R routines into the visualization. So if you do have a data science team that comes up with its own analytics, you can integrate that into SAP Analytics Cloud. Right, so I think we talked about some of those things here. The R visualizations, I think, is a key one, and really for us as organizations, it's more and more important now to start leveraging the machine learning capabilities. Now that a lot of organizations have really done the data integration piece, the data modeling, data quality part, now you're ready to really move into that next stage of analytics. Okay, and then lastly. And we come from a world where we built a lot of custom dashboards. And so for us, it's very important also in this case with SAP Analytics Cloud, the ability to create sort of applications that can run on both the desktop or on a mobile device. And there we can sort of do real custom development and get into scripting that allows us to build something that with a drag and drop potentially is not possible, but provides capabilities that our customers are looking for. And then lastly, you have, of course, the digital boardroom, a solution that quite a few organizations have implemented, which is sort of a 3-screen setup, which allows you to get a much better 360-degree view of what's going on in your organization, where you have maybe one screen which provides you the summary information on the market, another screen which is your business, and the third one that provides the context as you drill down. So instead of drilling down, you're drilling sideways, you're drilling and having the context always there at the same time, which is where the benefit of the digital boardroom, which leverages the SAP Analytics Cloud technology, it just is a solution that sits on top of SAP Analytics Cloud, and a very successful solution out there. And then lastly, we talked about, of course, the ability to visualize data on mobile devices, to have it in your pocket. That is very important. The question is now, for those of you that still have potentially business objects in-house, how do these two solutions complement each other? The idea or the reality is clear, also in this region, and even in this region where data needs to stay still sort of in country. One key topic is important to mention here is that SAP Analytics Cloud does not store any data in the cloud. Okay, so even if your data warehouse is, let's say, in the Middle East, and you put SAC, let's say, hosted in Frankfurt on top, it can be hosted also in the Middle East, but let's say you'd have it in Frankfurt. No data actually moves into the cloud just for the visualization. As soon as you close your browser, that data does not reside in the cloud in a different location than potentially what is allowed here in this region. What is clear is everyone is moving to the cloud. Sooner or later, your organization is also looking at moving the different assets into the cloud. Potentially, it might start with the less sensitive data, but ultimately, we know that we're going to be ending up there. Innovation is happening also in the cloud. I think that's clear. But yet at the same time, you have investments that you've made on premise. And the question is, how do you combine those two, right? How do you take the benefit of those? How do you optimize the usage and still leverage that investment? And so here, the key thing, and I'll just play this little video. I'm just going to jump ahead a bit. But basically what you can do as you start using SAP Analytics Cloud is you can use as your models, you can use the business objects universes that you have potentially built in your organization. So this is an example where we're using a universe in SAC from a business objects implementation. So here's where we're bringing together the two worlds, right? They are connected. There's a bridge between them, which means that the users and the roles that you've given them in business objects can be leveraged in SAC, that you can leverage your data sources that you have created in business objects with SAC. So the opportunity is there for you to make that transition. And here you see sort of the query panel, which is very similar to the world that you probably know. So I won't be able to cover too much of that today, but I think the important thing here is that how do these two worlds fit together? So you see in blue the Business Objects BI Suite, and in yellow the SAP Analytics Cloud. Okay, a lot of customers are still using reporting, primarily in web intelligence, which is still the #1 reporting tool on the planet, without a doubt, in addition to Crystal Reports, of course, which is maybe more for the pixel perfect reporting. So a lot of organizations have thousands of reports. We just finished, I think, 3 migrations in the last couple of weeks, where we had, more than, I think, 500 reports in one case. Another has 800 reports. So those reports are going to stay for quite some time in BI Suite. Even if you had all the money in the world and all the time, it doesn't make sense to bring those to SAP Analytics Cloud. However, SAP Analytics Cloud is great for the visualization, for dashboards, moving to mobile, for data discovery, of course, for the planning piece and the augmented analytics. So these two solutions can work together and can be leveraged across. And so there are opportunities also for you to discuss with us how we can potentially take some of the investment that you've made in terms of licensing and license maintenance and apply that license maintenance in SAP Analytics Cloud. So we can work with you to see how you could leverage that investment that you make annually for BI Suite, where you're really only maybe using web intelligence and maybe IDT for the universes. And you could reduce that cost and reinvest some of that into SAP Analytics Cloud so you can start that journey. Yeah. How is it different? Well, I think, we talked about SAC does not require you to have any hardware. It's the uptimes the SLAs are provided by SAP. You don't have to worry about that. It's continuously updated. As we said, it covers multiple workloads in one front-end user interface. And it's an all-in-one approach, which is something that you're not going to find in the market today. All of the other solutions that you will have potentially talked about, that you might have in your organization, such as Power BI, don't provide that capability all-in-one user interface. And that, again, in adoption is critical, right? If you want to move to a data-driven organization, adoption is critical. And that's where, the benefit is of having all-in-one solution. And SAP has done a tremendous job in updating the solution and providing the latest capabilities. The benefits of having these two capabilities together is really the on-prem data consumption, via live data connection, which is what we talked about, expanding the capabilities from reporting into, let's say, more analytical capabilities and planning, by leveraging also what you have in terms of your business objects investment and optimizing your TCO ultimately. Now, the question is, how can we help you in this journey? And for us, it's always understanding more about your environment. So for us, it's really important that we do a 360 evaluation of your situation. We understand what it is you have. With some customers, we have an extensive 360, which covers not only the front end, but also the back end capabilities. In others, it can be a 1-2 day exercise where we look at, what is the best journey for you? What adapts best to your current requirements? Let's look at how people are using your SAP Business Objects environment today. And then we from there come up with a plan which then has potentially two components. Business Objects 4.3 migration itself, right? And then of course expanding into SAP Analytics Cloud. Naturally, if you're joining us today and you don't have business objects, not a problem at all. I would still think it would be good to have a conversation as to what are your requirements. So really do that 360 evaluation, understand your environment, understand your data sources, and then help you build that Analytics Cloud expansion. Maybe we start with the planning, or we start with analytics, or we start with machine learning. It really depends on your environment. So, we are able to help you, and obviously this is a big step. This is a step moving from maybe the more comfortable on-prem environments to a cloud environment. How do you get started? How do you do that? We can help you on that journey. We're here to do this. We've been doing this for 22 years now. The first version of Business Objects, and by the way, we just migrated a customer, a bank in the region, from version 5.1, right, which is roughly the year 2002. So it was a multi-step progress to do this, or project to do this. We have the expertise, we have the knowledge. We're one of the few that has that on this planet still, and we're able to make sure that you can take that migration over. So with that, let me ask if there's any questions from the audience. I know there's a couple that have come up. Adriana, can you help me?
Yes, Mark. Hi. We have a few questions. Let me read them out loud.
Yep.
The first one is, are there any prerequisites to use GeoMaps on SAC?
Gates, can you take that one? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. So in order to use GeoMaps in SAP Analytics Cloud, what you would need to do is you would need to have your coordinate information stored somewhere for each location. And then within your model, you can mark those as coordinates. So the system knows that they're coordinates instead of just decimals, essentially. Once you've marked them as coordinates, the system will automatically translate that into a location on the map. SAC is actually integrated with Esri maps. So it will be using a well-recognized and well-known mapping tool. So yes, the prerequisite is to have those coordinates stored somewhere within your data, and then we can easily output it into a map using Esri once those coordinates are available.
Thank you, Gate. I hope that answers the question.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions?
One?
Yes.
Yes. Can SAP Analytics Cloud replace web intelligence reports?
It's a good question, right? So, web intelligence has been on the market for too long to just become the top solution for any reporting capabilities, and that's flat out the best reporting solution on the market, enterprise reporting solution for reports. Yeah? SAC can have reports and can do reports, not as complex, not as perfect as web intelligence. There are scheduling opportunities in SAP Analytics Cloud, so you can schedule those reports, but it doesn't give you the full capability set that you are used to in web intelligence. The flexibility you have of combining data sources, potentially creating contexts and calculations. So my suggestion is to find a way that you continue to use web intelligence, okay, and leverage the investment that you've made, and take some of that annual maintenance that you are paying to your partner or to SAP, and move that into SAP Analytics Cloud. We can help you do that, right? I hope that answers your question. So definitely keep the two scenarios in place for some time.
Okay, another question, Mark. By continuing the use of BI Suite, it will restrict us to use the planning and predicted features of SAC. How can we use these features along with BI Suite?
Yes. So as I said, I would keep BI Suite as is, optimize the licensing, potentially the maintenance that you're paying, and move to SAC. Now the answer of your question is definitely you will have created universes that potentially provide you with the actuals that you would then be able to use in your planning and in your predictive features. Plus, you have the user, you have the different users set up in BI Suite. And again, here you would be able to leverage those users, the security models that you have set up in SAC. So I don't see those two scenarios independent. I see those connected. So you would run your planning and predictive in SAC, right? Your Webby reports would continue to stay, but you'd be using your user, your security model, and of course, the universes that you have developed over time, huge value to drive the data into planning and into predictive capabilities that you can then use for planning and of course for dashboards and so on. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, we have another one here. Does SAC planning have the ability to read data for actuals report in ERP?
Okay, so very good question. Obviously, if you're doing a budgeting and planning, it's really important to always be able to pull the actuals. There are different ways to do that. Of course, there's connectors to your BW. There's connectors, as I said, to your universes. There's connectors to CDS views on SAP S4 or BI Suite or SAP Suite on HANA. So yes, the objective really is for you to connect your planning via a data source and pull that data from your ERP. Might be indirectly or could be direct. Okay.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions?
Yes, we have another one. Universe will be live connection, I guess. In planning and predictive, it's not available for live connections.
That is a good question. I don't know, Gates, do you have the answer to that, or do we need to get back to?
I believe we should probably check this, but the last time I checked for live connections, I don't think planning is enabled for live connections, but I'll have to check that. It's been a while since I've tested that out.
So we'll promise to come back to you on that. I might have then given you, let's say, slightly conflicting information on terms of using the universes for your planning workloads. Let us come back to you on that, and certainly we could, if you want, we will have a little one-to-one in a separate Zoom room in a minute. We can potentially discuss that in more detail if you like. Are there any other questions, Adriana?
Yes, we have another one. Quickly, can SAC dashboard be created by business user, or do we need it? We have Lumiria, and it's not too complicated for our user, and it's too complicated for our users.
Okay, so the question is, can business users create their own SAC dashboards? Or is it too complex, like in the Lumira or Design Studio case of business objects on-prem? I think here the answer is, I would say it depends. As always, it's not necessarily, it requires a bit of knowledge, but it certainly is a lot easier if the data models, the underlying data models, have been developed correctly. And also by using the augmented capabilities, it will be a lot easier for a business user to create their dashboards. Unlike in Lumira or in Design Studio, where you really had to resort to scripting and where you really needed experts to be able to do that.
I can just give a little background here, Mark, as well about the just from my experience with training.
Great.
For training someone on Lumira Designer, for example, you're talking about maybe a full week's worth of training just to get them to do the basics, because there's, like you said, there's a lot of scripting involved. Meanwhile, when we give training on SAP Analytics Cloud, because it's primarily drag and drop and there's no scripting involved, at least in the stories, we're talking about a couple of hours training to have them enabled to do pretty much everything. Like Mark said, it depends. It depends on the complexity of the dashboard. But generally speaking, I can attest to the fact that, you're talking about at least 4 or 5 times the training period required to accomplish the same exact result on Lumira Designer when compared to SAP Analytics Cloud, because it's a more complex tool.
Got it. Okay. Thanks for that. Gate, I think in the interest of time, what I suggest we do is we will offer you the ability to go to a separate Zoom meeting, which is in the chat on the right-hand side. But before we go, on behalf of everyone at Clariba and of course on behalf of Giorgio Di Blasi, who unfortunately had to leave us for another meeting, I'd like to thank you for joining today. It'd be a pleasure to reconnect with you and ensure that we can bring you on this journey together. It certainly is a journey that has to happen. It will happen over time, and we're here to make that happen together with you. So if you would like to join us, we'll have Gate, Mohammed, and I join you in a one-to-one session if you'd like. You should have the link in the session or in the chat box on the right-hand side. We'll see you there in a minute if you want to join. Thank you again, and speak to you all very soon. Thank you.